welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Mark Anthony, international speaker, business advisor, and author, worked on 6 of the 7 continents, and we have got a lot to learn, especially, how to join the 7-figure club. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Thank you, AJ. It is great to be here. Thank you very much.
You are welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but across the globe, a lot of places, people will benefit from what we are going to discuss. Who doesn't want to join the 7-figure club? A lot of businesses, entrepreneurs, people keep on working towards that. So my first question to you, Mark, is to understand this, that, when people talk about the 7-figure club, is it about just the money part, or is it about some special exclusivity about the degree of success that you have achieved in your life? Let's understand from that perspective.
So often when I'm speaking to younger entrepreneurs or younger people that are trying to get things going and start to build their empire, they do think it's about the money. And when people are a little older and they're struggling, it might be about the money. But when you want to really grow your business, don't just chase the money. You do need to chase what I believe is like a service mindset. When you believe in your product, when you believe in the value that you're giving to other people, when you come from a place of service, the money absolutely comes. But the other big question that's so important to really look at is, how do you define rich? And rich isn't about just buying artwork and going on luxurious trips or fancy cars. It's much more about creating the lifestyle that matters on your terms, not what someone's Instagram video says you should have, but what you want for your life. So you can have a medical practice, and one person is a surgeon in Beverly Hills, California, and someone else chooses to be a surgeon doing, say, cleft palate surgeries in a remote part of the world. Who's richer? There's no judgment there. You need to make a judgment by how you define rich. And when people stop and take that step and then pursue their definition, they get much richer. Obviously, having more money is nice, even if you choose to give it all away. But it's nice to have that balance, of course, of providing for your family, providing for your lifestyle. But I do emphasize to people, define life on your terms. And that's what a leader does. They define life on their terms, not following someone else's terms.
Absolutely. Well explained, Mark. And, that was very important because, one should achieve success and achieve success responsibly and also in the right sense. So now, talking about the 7-figure club, Mark, you know about this, you have done it yourself, and that's why you are the master for today, to help people understand about this. What does it take, to be in the 7-figure club? Everybody starts, and when you start a business, you want to be into that club, but only 1 in 10 small businesses hit the 7-figure club. What does it take to be there? What are the tools? What are the tricks? You started your first business at the age of 19. A lot of people want to start at that early age, but a lot of our audience is also, somewhere between 25 to 35. If they start at that point in time, how can they start and reach this 7-figure club, be a part of it? Help us. If it's almost like a step by step, if there is one.
There actually is. And that's such a great question, AJ. So what was really interesting is I started the business, thank you, as you said it, at the age of 19. I started my first business. I didn't know all the things I needed to know back then. So that's actually lesson number 1, is it's belief in your vision and taking action. Sometimes when you get older, so many different things that could be challenges that you actually stop yourself from just moving forward and going after what you want and just putting in the time and the effort and the belief. So in the book, I actually break it down into what I call 7 pillars. And pillar number 1 is mindset. When I was 19, I was already saying, I am a successful business owner, making 6 figures, because at that age, at 19, that was a lot to me. And so mindset was number 1, and you really want to get very clear on your goals, really know the why. And when you get clear on the why, you're able to start figuring out the how. But then the next pillar number 2, is accountability. Most people talk about what they're going to do, but they don't actually track if they're doing what they need to do in the right quantity, consistently and persistently. You want to see that each day, each week, each month, you're moving forward. If you're flat, if you're falling back, you need to know it right away. So you might have a bad week, you might have a bad month, but if you're looking all the time, that allows you to have good quarters, and good quarters stack up to good years. So you really need to know your result, but you got to know each of the steps that drive you forward towards those results. And that's a big piece of pillar number 2, and how you track and plan that. Now, once that's happening, then you could start to look at how you're selling. Obviously, to move forward, to have more sales, you need to make sales. And so making money is a part of it. Closing deals is a part of it. And when I talk about sales, and we could talk about any of these points in more detail, but the main thing when you're selling is, don't worry about closing the deal for you. Focus on how you're truly going to deliver value to somebody else. If you give value consistently, people will seek you out and want to do business with you. And then the next piece is marketing. And the reason I put marketing after sales is you could just be meeting people, talking from a passionate place of service, and people will want to work with you. And once that's happening, you have the track record to leverage your marketing, and you have some money to invest in marketing instead of going into debt to take a chance with marketing. And there's lots of ways you could market without actually spending a lot of money. And then the secret sauce is actually the next pillar, number 5, and that's customer service. So for your people in any part of the globe that are taking notes, what you want to think about is, yes, you want new sales, new customers. That's one way to grow. But the second and third way to grow are, what do? You don't just get customers, you keep them for a longer time. That comes because of customer service, not because of sales or marketing. And how do you get them to spend more money with you? Or, as I call it, increasing the transaction size? When they like you, when they trust you, when you're serving them, they work with you more often, but they also spend more with you. And that's a trifecta where you really leverage all 3 together. And that's a real big lever to get to 7 figures. And once all that's in place, your business is growing. You got to keep learning skills such as negotiation and special other tools and techniques that you can use. And then at this stage, you got everything working. But you also want to have a life so you could live life on your terms. So you need to create processes so you could develop your best people and have a business instead of a job. And too many business owners create a job instead of a business, which is the real goal, to give you that lifestyle.
Right. So we talked about 5 points. What are the other 2? You talked about the 7 pillars.
We had my mindset. Then we have accountability, sales, marketing is number 4, customer service is number 5. Then you want to do things like negotiation training and skill development, which is number 6. And that 7th point is to create processes. So some of it's about how you get customers, but if you want to get to 7 figures, you want to get to 8 figures, you got to build a business. So it's not just how do you sell and how do you market. It's how do you have that mindset? How do you keep learning? How do you put in processes? So that's why we start with mindset as number one, but we close it out with putting processes in place. So you're building an organization, not stuck in a job that just pays you well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So all the seven pillars, I've noted it down. It will also help me for the audience. Let me try and break them down as easily as possible. So that what about mindset? In your, you said you used to call when you started at 18. You used to call yourself a successful entrepreneur, a six-figure sales or whatever it is. So how do you create that? Is it right? A lot of people, individually, when they are opening their company, many a times they think, okay, I should look to be successful, and many a times people think, okay, this guy is making things up. So and nowadays it's the world of authenticity. So how do you create that balance between making you as well as your business stand out a bit shiny, but not too shiny, as well as your, in that process, your authenticity does not get diluted? A lot of young people may find it very difficult to balance this, because there are not many people to help them understand this fine balance between branding and as well as authenticity.
Yes, that is such a beautiful distinction that you're bringing up, AJ, which is authenticity. So we can talk about, goals and creating very specific goals in terms of the amount of money that you want to make, the time frame you want to make it in, creating a goal that is actually achievable and realistic based on what you're putting in and how you're going to measure it. And that's often about the money, the number of sales, the number of employees. But you also need to always ask yourself, what are your values? What do you really value in terms of contribution to others, contribution to yourself, to your family, to your community, and really very much to the customers that you're serving? And when you really think, if you were in, I always just say, if you were in the other person's shoes, if you were the customer buying from you, being served by you, what are the things that would make the experience great for you? What would you want to be assured you would get? And when you're thinking like the person you're serving and putting them first, then you're actually being very authentic to your best self. And when you're serving people from that space, you're a better boss to your employees, you're a better leader, and you're a better business citizen, essentially. But those things are rewarded with a business that grows and grows profitably.
Right, right. Well explained, Mark. Now let's come to the selling part, the sales part. You say that you don't push for sales too much, but there is a lot of these sales are happening online, and this whole concept of nowadays is coming that you should put the call to action up front, and the call to action cannot just be just learn more about me and my product. It is also a lot about sales. How do you again balance it when you are selling a lot of stuff online? How does that happen? And the same thing is about the customer service also. There also, a lot of the value creation has to happen online. A lot of buying, selling is happening online. How do I create that trust online when the customer is always looking for the best deal? How does it all work out?
And I've had a number of online businesses. Actually, one of my online businesses has consistently done 8 figures for over 10 years. That's over 100 million in specifically online sales. So when we talk about this, we are talking about, for real doing that. And, in the book, I mentioned this one business I had where we were selling office supplies, and a customer called up and they said, "You guys told us that the price was going to be this because of the sale code that we were using and that we saw." And it very clearly said on the ad, "For new customers only." Well, we could see that the person was already in our database, but they wanted this special price deal, which was basically getting the item at cost. And we could have made them wrong, but instead we allowed them to save face by saying, "Oh, maybe someone else in your office was the person who purchased it. So you know what? Let us just, the code won't work, but let's just do it manually for you." So we were taking care of the person. Yes, we didn't make a couple of dollars on that sale, but we did the right thing for someone who did find us again, who did come back to us. So part of what you got to remember is, as I said, take care of people. And sometimes too many business owners are afraid that the person's going to take advantage of them. If you make too good an offer, people are going to take advantage of you. My honest belief is most people are good. Most people are not going to take advantage of you. So if you make an amazing offer, people are going to come to you and feel good about it and safe. Maybe 1 in 100 takes advantage of you, but you got so many other people. So that's actually a tool that I use both online as well as with any other service business I do, which is called a risk reversal offer. Or the other way I put it is I say, how do you put your butt on the line before your customer puts their money on the line? If you know you're going to deliver a great result, how can you make the offer so safe for them? Like I've done things where I'll say, "I'll tell you what, that first, I expect you to work with me for a long time. So the first month is on me." I've done that many times in my career. And there's other people who'll be like, "Well, I'll give you double your money back." It's such a good offer. I don't even believe it, quite honestly. But they want you to absolutely give you money up front. I'm like, "Well, if you're so good, why don't we just pay you a little later, put the money in escrow?" So there's just ways you can make the barrier to entry very easy for the customer and put yourself on the line before them. And that's a mindset, again, where you're there to serve your customer. If you can deliver, customers come back again and again and again. So risk reversal is absolutely one of my favorite ways to make it safe for people, which is, it says it right in the title there. Very easy way, especially if you're a newer business and don't have the track record and the reputation yet. So why should people trust you? You need to trust them.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Mark. Well explained. And I guess what you said is not there in any management books or anywhere else.
Yeah. And
So,
that's the whole idea of the book, right? AJ, the book is written from like what was really done to build 7 and 8 figure businesses. And you're right. A number of clients and people who've been reading it are emailing me or hitting me up on LinkedIn and saying, "I haven't read this in any books." I'm like, yeah, because we're talking real life, not make believe.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, coming to your then negotiations and negotiation skills, what would you like to tell the younger lot, especially the younger people who are getting into entrepreneurship and businesses, small businesses, is what is this negotiation skill about? Is it about getting as much money out of your customer, not giving the discount that you just talked about? What are the skills in today's world, especially in negotiation? Is it about one-upmanship or is it about, again, customer?
It's actually the opposite of that. So when people first come to me for negotiation help, they want to win the fight. And so they approach it as, as a fight, as an opponent, but as a battle. And I'm using those type of words like fight and battle An opponent is a little bit more of a game, right? But what's really interesting, and we've all heard at this point that phrase, win-win negotiating. What you really need to do to boil negotiation down is one of the favorite strategies is work for your opponent's needs. That sounds opposite, right? I'm supposed to work for my needs. But see, if your opponent's getting everything they want, that's all they want, right? That's what they care about. So if you're getting everything you want, sometimes we got to help them do that. So I'll give an example. I was helping had a client who was selling their business, and they were afraid the deal was going to come apart because the person who was buying had some concerns about like guarantees that they were asking for of the person, my client who was selling. And I asked them, I said, if you were the one buying it, would you be concerned in wanting these guarantees? And they're like, yes. I'm like, for what they're asking for, and it was guaranteeing some prior work that they did in contracting. I said, how many times a year have you actually had to deliver on that guarantee? They said like maybe 6 times in the last 5 years. So I'm like, what are you worried about? And I actually said, what is the cost of that? They said $20,000. The person who was negotiating with them wanted a $200,000 discount because of what they were concerned about. I'm like, worst case, if you had to deliver on 6 times again, it's a fraction of that. So tell them, we are so confident in our business that if that's the guarantee you need, let's put it in place. We made the buyer feel really secure. My client even said, well, actually, it was 6 times years ago. We've actually gotten better, so it happens even less frequently. So I was like, we need, and it happened multiple times. And each time when I got them to work from the other side of the table's point of view, they dropped their fear. And more importantly, they let go of their ego. Like, I can't give them that. I can't give them anything. I'm like, let's look at the big picture. Of course you can, because what you're actually doing is when you give them their needs and help them get it met, you're helping them better communicate in a way that actually winds up giving you exactly what you need as well. And so we go into a lot of depth on how to structure deals where we're thinking like the other side. And when you think like the other side, your opponent, you're almost like a double agent, and you get in their head, you become a mind reader. And if you actually could think like them, it's way easier to create a deal that works for both of you. And deals that work for both sides are deals that actually get done.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so now let's come to the processes side. How do you nowadays? Processes are very good. We have been talking about processes since the last so many years, and people have been implementing. But nowadays, the buzzword is automation. And at the same time, customers are demanding we need humans, we don't need bots. And in the name of automation, and lots of bots have come into the system. How do you balance that as a business, especially if you are online, and a small, very small team, between processes, between the automation part, as well as keeping your still business very much human, very much customer centric, and taking care of customer care?
I absolutely, first of all, business gets done by people. The amount of people that we may need with automation, with the tools that we now have, you can get things done faster with fewer people. But your systems are still run by people, and those systems are there to serve customers, and your customers are absolutely people. So you got to remember that. And when we create a process, it's really a fancy word for directions, detailed directions. So if I have something that's automated, I might be using, software to get something done or programs to be run. I still need to write up directions on what buttons need to be pushed, what data needs to be entered, what things need to be proofed and double checked, and when. All those things do need to be written up. And when we write it up, what I then do is I then have the staff person who's written it try to do it by themselves. Every time we see a spot that they're getting stuck when we're proofing them in their going through it, we're like, okay, that's something that needs to be cleaned up in the directions or the process. And then once we have that, we give it to another team member to follow the directions that have been written. So staff person number 1 writes it, we proof it, then they give it to staff person number 2. And if staff person number 2 can go through the directions and get everything done all of a sudden as well, then when person number 1 goes on vacation, person number 2 can step right in because the tools as well as the process are allowing person number 2 to do it. And I have a client who's very old fashioned and didn't want to do this. And they ran the company and 2 of their staff people were out. And they're like, I'm so busy today. I'm so busy all week because I'm covering for my staff. I'm like, I think you have this equation a little backwards. Your staff is supposed to be covering for you,
Right.
so you could be out of the office. And I asked him, I said, well, what processes do you have in place? Everything. I said, can you please send me the documents? He said, nothing is written. I said, well, then how do your other people know what to do? They don't. That's why I'm doing it. And suddenly he got it. He said, wait a minute. If I'm going to duplicate myself, I need to start putting things in writing. And then I need to be able to set that up so that I can feed the machine. I could feed the software. I could feed the AI tools, which are starting to become more and more popular.
Right.
But he
right.
needed the directions.
Absolutely. And now that is where the team part comes in, because you did not mention in any of the 7 pillars, but I'm sure it is part of one of those things. But help us understand in terms of how do I build a team who understands all these 7 pillars and actually implement them in the system that I want to help me duplicate my thoughts, my vision, and put the systems in processes towards the journey towards the 7-figure club.
Okay. That's such a big and powerful question. So it absolutely starts with the owner. Okay, the owner or the head manager needs to have a philosophy and build a culture that we are going to learn together, as well as create those processes, follow them. I had said pillar number 2 is about accountability. So we do need to track things. But while we're doing that, one of the things that we did early on in my businesses, which allowed everyone to come together as a team, was once a week at least, I would buy lunch for everybody. And I would have one person, not me, find an article or write up something about what their role in the business is, in the department. And then they were educating the rest of the team over lunch. And it was their meeting to run. And they all took it very seriously. And they made it a platform to educate. It was their way of being the big shot. It was their way of saying, look at what I know. But they made everybody bigger and better. And what it did is many things. It taught the other members of the team what they needed to do and how how they could do this other person's role. But it also helped them understand what was difficult about that other person's role. And when they understood what was hard, difficult about another one of their team members and what they were trying to do, what did everybody else do? They were more understanding. They were more helpful when that person needed data or reports or something in a timely way. Now the other people were giving it to them because they understood why. But they didn't do that on their own. We had to set up the lunch and learn. We had to set up the teaching each other, the supporting each other environment. So the fish is very healthy from the head, from the top, or the fish can stink and be rotten from the top. Choose which type of leader you want to be. And I'm positive every one of your leaders, once they're thinking about it, says, I want to be the one that leads by example and proactively creates a culture where every one of my people get better.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is much to learn from you, Mark. And this is just a half an hour podcast show. I'm sure there is so much to people will have to come directly and learn from you or through your book. Join the 7-figure club, build your business, double profits, and get your life back. So, how can people get hold of this book, and how can people get hold of you? The best way. What's the best way to connect with you?
Wonderful. Thank you for that opportunity. The book is easily available on Amazon. If you happen to be in a part of the world where it's hard to get it because Amazon's not shipping to that spot, then download the digital version, and all of us can get the digital version. And one of the things I am so passionate about at this stage of my career is just making sure everyone gets this type of information in detail. So the digital version is 99 cents US, so that it's something that anywhere in the world someone could afford it. And the actual physical copy of the book, hold it in your hand, pass it to your staff, and you'll really see there's 200 more pages of the types of things that we've been discussing here. Also, you can look for Mark Anthony in New York, and find me on LinkedIn like that. But on Instagram, Mark Anthony, high performance, because every 7-figure person wants to be a high performer. So Mark Anthony, high performance on Instagram, easy way. And of course, the website. What could be easier? Join the 7figureclub.com. Happy to talk to people, get their questions answered, give young and seasoned entrepreneurs more details, some free resources. You get to a stage in life where you want to make sure you're giving to other people. And that's a big part of my mission now, throughout the world. So join the 7figureclub.com. Let's help more people like you're doing through your mastermind groups get to that next level.
Get to that next level. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.